Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I greatly appreciate it. How's everyone doing today? Everyone good? All right.
Okay, so today I'd like to share with you a story about something that you're pretty familiar with, because just like this school, there are other schools that also have special readathons. And it's a little bit different, this particular school that took place in Skokie, which is a little city not too far from Chicago in Illinois. And during that time, there was this one particular boy who was always known to do the absolute best. His name was Pete. Every single year, he would always do the most. Now, it's a little bit different because when it came to their reading, it wasn't just the amount of minutes, but it was also, more importantly for them, the amount of pages that they had to read from a very, very big book, kind of like an encyclopedia. Luckily, sometimes there was a picture or two on it, but the words were very, very, very small. They would almost need a microscope to be able to read even a single sentence. It was very, very difficult. You see that?
Yeah, we see it.
Pretty small, right? So, this guy...
You're good, girls. All good.
I'll show it to everyone else in the back afterwards, okay? Don't worry. Everyone will have a chance to see this beautiful book. Okay. Anyway, as you guys can imagine, this was very difficult, but it wasn't just that they had to read it, but they were actually given a test to make sure that they understood the pages that they said. So there was this one boy, his name was Pete, and he always used to read the most pages every single year. He became so well known in the school, and he loved all the different nicknames that he got. Pete cannot be beat. You can't defeat Pete. Or his favorite, Peter the Reader. He was always the one who read the most pages. But there was one year where his classmate George said, you know what? I'm going to try my best, as hard as it is, to even lift this thing up. But to be able to read as many pages as possible, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to defeat Pete. But as this continued on and on, Peter kept reading and reading and kept doing such a great job. So he said, Peter, I have a question. What's your secret? You got to tell me. Well, how are you so good at reading and understanding all these pages and all stuff? You know what? Because you're neck and neck, you're so close to me, I'll tell you. I have something magical, almost like a wand, but it's a bookmark. I can't go anywhere without my bookmark. And what I do is when I read, I actually don't just use the bookmark to put so I know where I'm up to. I actually will follow along with my bookmark and read, and that's how I was able to do it. So George, so one second, you're telling me without this thing would be hard for you to read? It would be impossible. I couldn't read a word without my bookmark. I said, okay, wow. It's good to know. That may be important information for the rest of the story. Who knows? So, it turned out it was the last day. And George said, hey, how many pages were you tested on so far? So he said, I'll tell you, 500 pages. I said, that's pretty unbelievable. Me too. I can't believe it. But today's the last day. Now it's interesting also to note that they went on the same bus. And you should also know that there were very specific rules in this school in Skokie, and you were only allowed to read up until 7 o'clock p.m. And then that was it. So George knew as soon as he got off the bus, he would have to immediately open up this lovely book and read and read and read, and hopefully he'll remember it and be tested, and maybe he will win. By the way, the prize was unbelievable. They were given a delicious chocolate bar. I know, unbelievable. But that's what the prize was. She said, maybe I'll get this Hershey's chocolate bar. Never know. So, there's only one little problem. There was a little bit of a disadvantage because Pete got off the bus 2 stops before George. And he looked out the window of the bus as soon as the bus stopped, and Pete just dashed right into his house, and George knew, I bet I know what he's doing. What do you think he's about to do?
Read.
He's going to probably read and read and read. I better do the same thing. So when George got off the bus, he went home, and his mom said, oh, it's so nice to see you. He said, yeah, Mom, you know what, I've been reading so much, I got to read today. She goes, oh, I know it's so important for you, but you know that we have very important company coming for dinner tonight. Yes, I remember, Mom, that's right. I said, well, I hate to say it, but your room's a little messy. I think you have to go and clean it. So I said, oh my gosh, it's going to take me maybe a few minutes to clean. I'm going to lose some time in reading. But that's what my mom asked me to do. So he did it. He went to his room, he made his bed, he picked up all the stuff off the floor, cleaned it, made it all nice and tidy. And then he said, okay, Mom, I'm done. I said, okay. Here's a vacuum cleaner. Why don't you clean and vacuum the living room rug? He thought to himself, what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to be able to win. But my mom told me to help vacuum, so that's what I'm going to do. And then after he finished that, his mom said, I only have one last small thing for you to do. There's a grocery store right down the block, very easy for you to get to, and you're already a teenager, you're much older. You can go and please get some groceries for me. Groceries? I have to go shopping now? Yes. Okay, Mom, I'll do it. And he was walking, and the way to get to the store, he had to actually pass Pete's house. And while he was walking, he noticed on the ground, right in front of his driveway, not too far from where that bus stopped, something that was on the floor. Something that belonged to Peter. Anyone have any idea what that was? The bookmark. Exactly. Very good. Excellent. So, yeah, I'm glad you're paying attention. That's good. So he found this bookmark, and he went over to his front door and he started knocking. And Peter opened the door, and he looked a little bit sad. He looked a little bit upset. And said, oh, hi, George. How are you? I have great news. Look what I found. Your magic bookmark. And he gave it to him. And George's face lit up. He had to smile. And then he went grocery shopping, and he went home. And then when he looked at the clock after all the groceries were unpacked, you know what he noticed? It was too late. It was already past what time? 7 o'clock. And he said, you know what? I am not able to have read even a single page. The next morning, he got to school. And everyone was excited because they knew who was going to win. Who's going to get this unbelievable chocolate bar? And he said, well, George, you go first. You write down the amount of minutes and pages, rather, that you actually did. And how many pages do you think he had to write down? 0 that day, but total, 500. So he wrote down on a piece of paper, 500. That's how much he did. Because you're right, he couldn't read it all that day. And then everyone said, clearly, we know Pete really cannot be beat. Pete, write down how many minutes and how many pages you actually read for the entire time. And believe it or not, this is the amount that he wrote. 500. George went up to Peter and said, I don't understand. You went home, you got this bookmark, and you could have read a bunch of more pages. You knew I was going grocery shopping. There was no way I was going to be able to do a single page. He said, you're right. But you did such a great act of kindness. You found something which you knew was very important and precious. And therefore I thought to myself, why should it be that I should win? Wouldn't it be so much nicer that we could win together? And everyone began to clap. And as this chocolate bar was presented, they broke it in half and they split it together. The reason why I share this story is because this week's Parshat Yitro, it talks about one of the most important mitzvot, which is Kaved et avicha v'et imecha. Honoring your father, honoring, respecting your mother. And when it says to honor and respect your mother and your father, it doesn't mean only when things are easy. It may mean even when it may be a little bit difficult. But nonetheless, we still have to show respect and listen to them. But I'll tell you something else. It says, interestingly enough, that if you honor your parents, it says, L'man yitav lach. It'll be good for you. You may not necessarily see it, but the truth is, by listening to one's parents and doing as we're supposed to, things will be good for you, just as they were for George and for Pete. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.